A little off topic, but not really. I've been noticing a lot on social media that people keep asking about all the movies, and it seems I feel like there's once is it once you sell the things, you really kind of are out of it, and you really don't know, or do you think you would actually be engaged? Because it seems like authors get a little overwhelmed when people are like, "What about the movie? What about the movie?" And they're like, "Well, I don't know yet." Sometimes.
Well, it's just that it takes such a long time. So from the option, like all the option means is that a production company or a studio has taken the option to start working on pre-production. So they'll write a script and see how they feel about it. And they'll maybe shop around for directors and see if they find the one that they want. And at any point, if they get the script and they're like, oh, this isn't turning out as well as we thought, they'll just scrap the whole thing because they don't want to waste any more money. I mean, movies cost what, 40 to 100 million dollars to make. They're not going to just throw that money out there unless they're pretty sure they could make some cash off of it. So a lot of things have to come together. Like they have to get the right cast, they have to get the right director, they have to have people that believe in it. And all of that stuff can take a really, really long time, or it can go, very quickly, just like that. So the producers that I've worked with, Anna Dressed in Blood is with Stephanie Meyer and her company Fickle Fish, and also Lionsgate. And they've been wonderful because, Stephanie is an author first, and she's been very conscientious about keeping me informed and making me part of the process as much as she can. But they're under no obligation to do that. Producers are the one, like it's the studio putting up the $100 million. I don't have $100 million to have a movie made for my own self. So they're the ones who are going to be making most of the decisions. And so most authors are not part of the casting process. So we have no control. And while I love hearing from readers who they would like to see as the characters, I also want them to understand that, yeah, that is awesome. And wow, they would
Out
be
of my
great. But
control.
yeah, I have no control over it. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. But, fingers crossed. Three Dark Crowns is still in development with Fox and 21 Laps, and 21 Laps just picked up a short story of mine called On the I-5, which is from a horror collection called Slasher Girls and
Congratulations.
Monster Boys. Thank you. And they're working on that now as well. So Anna is still in development. I hope to have good news about that this summer, but and it's all at different phases. You want to be very careful about what you share because sometimes you have setbacks and then it makes it look like it's never going to happen, but setbacks happen all the time. So
Kind
you
of
don't
like
want to
Francesca
announce
Leah
something.
Block's Wheaty Bat movie. That's always been it's been in production for like 10 years.
Yeah, yeah. And that sometimes they just take that long and it doesn't mean it's never going to happen. It just means they're trying to get it right. So
Yeah, I was curious because I feel bad for the authors because I feel like it's must be so hard to see fans get so excited, but just really not be able to give them what they want. But speaking of
yeah.
fans and authors in different industries, so I know that you have the Beacon book box coming up, the limited edition one, and it sounded like you were really involved in collaborating with it. I think that Three Dark Crowns was the first one came out when Owl Crate was first starting in 2012, 2013. You did one. Is it is it just like the coolest thing ever to see your book in a book box?
Yeah. Especially the Beacon book box, and the Bookish box is also doing one for Five Dark Fates. So those boxes are special edition dedicated to Three Dark Crowns completely. So it's all Three Dark Crowns merch that's going to be in there, and they're collaborating with me on all of it. So it's amazing to see, the artists that are going to be creating this merchandise. And I guess in the Beacon book box, there's going to be a blanket. I'm very excited about that, so I can have a blanket.
I won't tell if it's something I can't tell.
No, that one's been announced. That's why I said it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's so cool to see that readers want like merch about the queens, and they like some people will post like pictures of like their Three Dark Crown shells with all the candles and all the, and frankly I own too much of it. Like whenever I see merch on sale on like Etsy for Three Dark Crowns, I'm like, well, I'll just take a little bit of this. And my husband's like, do we really need any more? I'm like, yes, we need it
Yes.
all.
I have
So,
the
but
book
I
cover
ordered like
pen
3
in
copies of
the.
things. So I don't know. I have many candles to give away at my launch events, I think is what I'm saying.
So I think I've mentioned this before. I try to always have one of your books as my staff pick. And the,
Oh, thank
yeah, and
you.
something that's so awesome about your books is the art is so I'm a sucker for dust jackets, anything if you open up the inside and see maps. So when I saw that there was a map on the inside, I went to reader heaven. And one thing that I've wondered, so I assume that you've been beta testing or something, looking at different artists, and for the Beacon Book Box, did that give you ideas for maybe what kind of covers or styles or some kind of inspiration looking at the different artists for the exclusive book box for future things, or do you have no control over that?
Yeah, all of the covers that are behind you, that's my publisher. I have no control over that. I've just gotten lucky. Like, I think the Anna covers and the Three Dark Crowns covers are some of the most beautiful covers I've ever seen. But I can take zero credit for that because I had nothing to do with it. I was just very pleased. You know, you get that email from your editor and you're like, the book cover, like the mock-up is here, and then you open it and you're just like, God, am I gonna hate it? Because if I hate it, I can't really do anything about it. You just have to say, oh, great. But with Anna, Girl of Nightmares, Three Dark Crowns, each cover has been better than the last. And they have asked me for input, especially the further we go into Three Dark Crowns. They're like, well, first we're going to do crowns, and then we're going to do the throne, and then in Two Dark Reigns, they're like, we'll do the scepters. But for Five Dark Fates, they're like, what other royal things are there? Do you have any ideas? So I was like, well, how about we do a coat of arms and have it feature, you know, all the 5 gifts of Fenburn. Like, this is the Fenburn coat of arms. Like, if they had shields, this would be on them. So, and they're like, oh, great. And they actually took my, you know, so that was cool. So I feel like I got to help out once and be of use when I'm usually not useful at all.
It's so interesting. When I was reading in The Goddess Wars, I could tell so much research for mythology. And you were mentioning that there was also lots of research for building a world in Three Dark Crowns that while it was fictional, you could still had a history and would be realistic to the kind of atmosphere you're creating. So like clothes, boats, and everything. For Anna in A Girl of Nightmares, it seemed like there was definitely lore, like research done, especially Cass's mom. She was very knowledgeable, and so was Morphin. Did you get to read lots of cool occult books? And what was like the weirdest piece of knowledge you learned during research that just never made it to the book?
Oh, well, I did a lot of research in Thunder Bay. When I wrote Anna Dressed in Blood, I lived about, you know, like 5 hours away, like a 5-hour drive. So I was able just to drive up there and stay for a weekend and take pictures and find cemeteries and hear about the local ghost stories. So the local ghost stories that are talked about in the book are actual real Thunder Bay ghost stories. And I just used them. As far as the witchcraft stuff, like I knew a lot of Wiccans in college, and you know, I have a lot of experience with that, so it was fairly easy. Although someone did say I did a spell wrong. I'm like,
There's
whatever.
always one of those.
I know, and I disagreed. I'm like, they said I should have cast the circle Widdershins instead of what and I disagree. I think I intentionally did not do it that way, and I had a reason.
And it's your work.
But, yeah, and I'm like, this spell would work the way I wrote it. Just trust me. But I can't think of any particular piece of research that I really wanted to use that hasn't made it into a book, because honestly, I find a way to shoehorn that research in there somehow, almost always. Like, I will, even if it's just like a mention and just a tidbit, I will get it in there if I think it's cool enough. I'm going to share it, you know. That's, yeah. So, and for the Goddess Wars, I'm such a mythology buff, you know. I love the Iliad, I love the Odyssey. So I didn't get really deeply into the research until probably book 2 and book 3. I got to research minor gods that I was not familiar with, and that was fun. Like
Oh, that's
that,
cool.
that's a lot of fun for me. That's not even research to me, because you say research and I think work, but with the Goddess War, it was just fun reading. So, yeah.
I can always tell as a reader, especially as a librarian, I can tell when an author hasn't experienced a personal thing that they're trying to convey their character going through. And what I love about your characters is they're sassy, they're in pain, they're happy, they're joyful. They have really are experiencing things. I feel like I'm friends with them and can want to yell at them sometimes. And all of your characters in the series, well, not all of them, but a lot of them struggle with this one thing, and it's they're born into either a world or a society where they're going to be a tool or an instrument for something supernatural that's bigger than themselves. So they can't really be a quote unquote normal person. Cass, the queens, even gods, Cassandra, but they straddle this line, I think, between the queens. I feel like sometimes they really want, like Arsinoe was so hurt when she first interacted with the sisters. I think she really wanted to be friends with them, and they were Catherine and Mirabello, they're trained all their lives to be the tool and system. And I think Cass and the Cassandra really struggle between needing to be part of this bigger role, but also really wanting to be just a normal person. Was there something that helped? Have you felt like you're straddling two things that are pulling you in waves? Because it really felt genuine for these characters.
Oh, no, not myself. No. I mean, when I was younger, I often wished that like unicorns were real and that one would come find me and we'd have to go fight trolls or something. But no, it never happened, unfortunately. So no, I've never been pulled in two different directions. Um, I think I liked, that's what makes an interesting story to me is I don't want to read about a person who just goes around their daily lives and everything's good and they face no challenges. And even a queen, she's just like, and then I killed my sisters and took the throne. Yay! Like I did just what I was supposed to. I wanna read about things that go awry. I want to read about things that are unexpected. A god popping in and telling you you're an old hero, or a ghost that you think you're going to kill right away, and instead you form a connection with her. So yeah, like that's where the ideas of the stories come from. I think is from that initial source of trouble.
It's so cool. And I think it's really amazing that you can have all of these characters, and it's like Game of Thrones. You just can create such an emotional attachment to them for readers and the characters, but then it's something happens and you're like, oh no. Do you ever save things that, so I won't say which characters have died just in case somebody reading this maybe hasn't, but
Yeah.
have characters that you've had to kill because that's the way the story's going and they run on their own momentum. Have you ever kind of saved what else you wanted to do with them if they hadn't died for maybe use for a future character that might be like them?
No, because each character has their own specific arc and their own specific set of motivations. They really are just doing their own thing. So I've never given anybody's story to anybody else that I could think of. Sometimes that's not necessarily true. Like sometimes in one draft, I'll have a character do this thing. Like, oh, you will tell this secret. You're the one telling the secret. And then in the second draft, I'll realize like, you should not have told the secret. This other person should have told the secret. So I will give, the job of telling the secret to another person or something like that. But as far as, I think about what I could have done with characters whose time had ended early a lot, but I don't give that job to other people. Sometimes I'll have people just organically try to fill in where they should, because they leave a place behind, like an empty seat. So somebody has to fill it. And how the person goes about trying to walk in their shoes or take over for them is often an interesting story in itself. but I let them do that in their own way. I don't try to make them a new version of the character that was before.
I like that. You're not cheapening it. Everything is organic and it's fresh.
Everything feels really organic. If I'm doing it right, it doesn't feel like I'm making something. It feels like I'm channeling something. So that's when I know it's going okay.
I like that. That's cool. This other question was, have you had any of your books used for like reading, summer reading or classroom reads, or even what was that like? Can you just talk a little bit about that? If you don't.
Well, I mean, I'm usually not very involved unless they have like a book club or a classroom unit, and then they want to bring me in to do something like this, like a Skype session with them after it's over, so like the students can ask me questions and things and show me their projects, which is always really rad. I know there's a teacher in the Midwest, and she pairs YA currently with classical reads to try to make the classics more accessible. So like she pairs Anna Dressed in Blood with Beowulf, and she wants to pair Three Dark Crowns with Macbeth. So, and then the students like do projects like comparing and contrasting the two reads, and finding, you know, common threads and differences, and it seems to go over really well. So like stuff like that is really cool. I love it when books make it into the classroom. I love it when the classroom can turn students into readers, and when libraries do programs like the one that you're doing, and, you know, just really, really making lifelong readers. It's very, I mean, it's just great to see.
Yeah, that's so cool. I should look into whoever that is. That's awesome. This other question that I had was so yesterday I was talking with Shopa Rao, and I asked her if she ever dreamed about characters. She said that when she's writing it, she does, but then when it's done, not really. Do you ever have different queens or characters come to you when you're feeling different ways?
No, well, I mean, they're always there, and if it's about the time to start writing, they're really just like poking at my shoulder. It's like, hey, you know, it's time. We've got things to be doing. And that's when I know, like, oh, I better write. You know, it's time to start. But as far as dreaming about my characters, I never have, and I really kind of wish that I would. If they ever make movies out of anything, you know what? I bet I will. But I bet it won't. It won't be like the characters who exist in my mind. It'll be whoever they get on screen. Like I bet I will. 100% I will probably dream about that, and that will be bizarre. And I am looking forward to it if it happens. But like Anna Dressed in Blood, before it was published, everybody who touched the book had dreams about Anna. Practically, my editor, my agent, my husband, they all had nightmares about Anna, but I never had one because Anna likes me, and she doesn't
I dreamed
do that
about her after I read it.
Oh, nice. I feel like she's a really good kind of just a dream haunter. It's a common theme. You read about Anna and she shows up like a little Bloody Mary in book form. So yay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another library question. So libraries are such a great opportunity to make lifelong readers and introduce them to new books and everything. Have you ever learned of libraries doing things with your books in unique ways in regards to marketing or programs, or have you learned about any really awesome YA things that libraries are doing, and have you had thoughts about what you would want to do in a library with your books?
Oh. I love it when like libraries, and I know that they don't all have the budgets, but I think it's really cool that some libraries have the budgets to bring authors in and to do workshops with their readers, and panels with their community. And sometimes they can organize an entire day. You know, they can partner with a bookstore and organize an entire day, almost like a mini community festival, and just bring the classrooms in. You know, get them to sign. Sometimes they get them to sign a day out of school, and, you know, English classes will like bring them over for a partial day. And I know that's really hard to do given the curriculum, but it's very cool when there's the leeway for that to happen. And it's also excellent just what I see librarians doing these days that they never did when I was a kid. You know, you never had Comic Cons at the library put on by librarians. You know, and stuff. You just never had that kind of stuff. Game days, you know, YA celebrations, costume contests, art contests, you know, fan art, all that stuff that didn't exist back when I was a reader, and I probably would have really dug it. So I'm really happy to see it happening, and I'm also a little bit jealous. And yeah, so I don't know. I don't have any better ideas than what the libraries are already doing currently. I just think it's really cool that it's come so far, and it's actually a place that kids want to go and
Festival is a
hang
cool
out.
idea. I might pitch that.
Yeah.
We actually just had an edible book festival where you, so like say you have Catcher in the Rye, somebody had rye bread and then they put a picture of like a baseball catcher.
Oh, okay.
Or somebody cooked a cake and put different things in it, and it was an I Spy, so you had to find the list of things that were on it.
That's fun. I love anything that has to do with food, so
Same.
that's a big win. Yeah,
It
it's
was
a big
really
win.
engaging, and it was just really, I hadn't heard of this. I guess it's an International Edible Book Festival Day thing, and it was.
Oh, I'm gonna have to Google that.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in that.
Yeah, and it was just so interesting to see the ways libraries can be spaces to spark the community's creativity, but also have to do with the literary aspect of it. It was so cool.
Yeah, very cool. Well, there's no shortage of librarians are really creative people. I'm sure you know, being a librarian as a creative person. So there's no shortage of things, you know, cool ideas that you guys are always coming up with to just introduce reading into the community and just to do more outreach and, you know, keep readers reading and show them new, you know, advise them on new books and stuff. So thank you for doing all that for your community and your readers.
And I think I have just 3 or so more questions, and then
okay.
One of them
yeah, I do have to get going in like 5 minutes. I'm almost out of time.
All right, so perfect, works out well. So I read across the board, but what I've noticed is that YA has a really cool cosplay community. For example, Lonnie Taylor's Strange the Dreamer. I've seen I don't know if you've read that one. I'm a big fan. In Sarai cosplays. Have you ever just seen in an awesome cosplay of any of your characters that just was like, oh my God?
Yeah, actually, when I was on tour for Girl of Nightmares, a librarian came dressed as Anna.
Oh my gosh.
So that was really cool. And I've seen a lot, like people will do the queens and they will do just beautiful, beautiful jobs of the queens. Just elegant black dresses, a lot of makeup. I've seen a lot of great Arsenault scar makeup, just really gory makeup effects, and that's really rad because I'm also just a horror fan, so I like to see that kind of come to life. And Epic Reads did something cool. They hired a couple of designers to create different gowns and different outfits from different book series. So they did Katarine's Gav Noir gown from Three Dark Crowns, and they did one from Shatter Me. They did Red Queen. I think maybe the Fates Divide, or some like maybe Divergent. But it was really cool to see, you know, how the different designers interpreted these things that we'd only seen in books. So yeah, I got to go to the HarperCollins offices in New York last year, and they had Katarine's gown on display. So I got to see it like up close and like touch it, and ran away with it briefly. Yeah, so it was really cool.
That's so cool. And I guess my last 2 questions, well, actually, fun fact, Victoria Aveyard's from East Longmeadow, Mass, and I worked at the library in East Longmeadow. So like,
oh, cool.
Her family I would check out cards to the Aveyard family. It was kind of cool. But this other, I'm not going to ask because I know you can't say anything about the upcoming book. I know. So, and I'm not also going to ask who your favorite queen is because I feel like that's also been asked. But I think
I have one.
You can't. They're like your children almost.
I know, and it would be really unfair if I took sides, considering what situation they're in. I have to remain impartial. It was necessary.
I want to know what will your familiar be? Kind of.
Oh, well, here's the thing about familiars is you don't get to choose them.
They choose
They
you. They're
just
like
come.
Patronuses.
Yeah, they choose you. So even though I would want like a Camden or a Braddock, that would be really sweet. Or I would love, there was a queen once who had a horse, and I thought that would be really rad if your familiar was a horse. So useful. I mean, just transportation wise, it'd be great. Um, but I probably wouldn't get that. I would probably get like I usually say like a beaver, like just a large, lazy beaver who just wanted me to feed it all the time and would occasionally bite me. That's what I would probably get.
Do you have a process? What kinds of books, say, do you read when you're writing? Or do you read poetry or listen to music? Like, do you get you in the zone?
There's my dog. If I'm writing, I don't read a ton. If I'm heavily drafting, I'm pretty much just like words, 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 words. And then when I'm done wording, I don't even want any more words. But but when I'm not writing, I read everything. Like I read a ton. I'm reading a really charming alternate history American royal romance called American Royals by Katie McGee. It's coming out
Well, that's cool.
actually the same day as Five Dark Fates is coming out, and it's just really good, and it's intrigue and fluffy and romancy and royal. You know, I just want to eat like a pink cupcake and drink tea when I'm done. I'm also reading a very cool like Aztec-based inspired mythology fantasy about a girl on a quest to restore an ancient god of the underworld.
What's that one?
And that's really cool. I'm not done with it yet. I'm about halfway through, but it's called Gods of Jade and something. I can't remember the title. But it's really good. I'm about to dive into Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman's Aurora Rising.
I'm so excited for that.
Like next month. I've just got a big pile of books that I need to catch up on. And I'll also read a classic. So, but I better get going because my dogs are starting to lose it.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and for my library. Well,
And then
whenever you read in the future, I hope that we can talk about it again.
Yeah, that would be great. Or, maybe I'll get to visit your library sometime. Who knows?
That would be so cool.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Thank you so much for all you do. You could write a postcard and I would buy it.
Well, I'm so glad you're enjoying the books. Thank you so much for making them staff picks. And let me know if in the future you have any book clubs or anything and you need like just a guest author to come in and whatever. But otherwise, I suppose I'll see you around social media at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Have a great day.
All right. You too. Bye.
Bye. You are so amazing.
Thank you.
Bye.